Now, there's some other interesting things you can do with this logging data. One of the things is that we'll go through here. I'm going to pull up Google Analytics here. This is something we set up. We turned on the Google Analytics for this site just last night. So here I've got this Firefox window open, and as we're going through here, now this is just on google.com Analytics, and literally just went through and turned this on last night. If I click on Access Analytics, now this lets you go in, and you can actually get, this is a free service from Google for up to 5 million page views per month. So, for a lot of, PeopleSoft applications, that's fine. If you're going to have more than 5 million per month, then, you would go through and, probably pay Google for that. What you can see here, though, is that, and this won't have our current, activity. The analytics are just run on a nightly basis. So what you can see is that when we went through here and just set this up yesterday, you can see we have our www.gs demo registered here. Now you can have multiple different host names. So if you are, running different instances of PeopleSoft or want to view between tests and things like that. And if we drill in here, we can actually go in and you can see, this is where we started having some activity here. And there's some interesting statistics that you can see. So one of the things that you can see is you can do different things like, see where your user's coming from. It's actually very interesting. So you notice that, it shows that all of our activity so far, it recognizes it's coming from California and from the San Francisco area here. So all of this stuff, and it literally breaks it down. You can see different statistics here. Now, where this actually gets interesting from a perspective of self-service is not just seeing, where people are actually getting in from, but you can also do different things. So like if we look at the browsers here, we can actually see what browsers that people are using. So this is something that's going to help out a lot in your testing here. So you can see in this particular case, when we're going through and playing around with this, we're just getting in with Firefox. If we were looking at, say, the browser and operating system combination, we can see that we had some Firefox Linux and Firefox on Windows. Now, the other nice thing is that you have a lot of interesting statistics here that aren't normally available, like screen resolutions. So if you're going in and looking at pages of, how does the layout look and is it going to make sense to people, you can actually see what's going on from a screen resolution standpoint. Is it, if you design a page that, needs a large screen resolution, what percentage of your users is that going to cause issues with? You can even include things like if once you start going through and looking at mobile, you can see different things. Now, we didn't, this particular demo site doesn't have any mobile data loaded into the Google Analytics here. But you can see, which carriers, if your traffic comes from AT&T, you can see which devices people are using and things like that. So as you go through and make things available to people where it is external and you don't have as much control, this sort of data becomes hugely valuable. Now, if we go back to this overview here, the other thing that you can see here is if we go in and let's take a look, like, for example, at the page views here. And I'm going to scroll down to the very bottom here. This is, you can see all of our activities here. And actually, let's go back and look at the visits here. If we were to go through here and pull this up, what I wanted to look at is, I want to pull up the traffic sources here. Now here we can see we've got all of this traffic. These were URLs that we had typed directly in, so we can actually see, where people are coming from. Once you have things externally, if you have other things that are linking in, you'd be able to get that data as well. So anyway, so there's a lot of interesting detail in here. Now, one of the things that's important to realize is that this, the access.
Chris, this is Hendricks. I want to do a quick time check. We've got about 10 or 12 minutes left in the webinar, and I didn't know if you wanted to continue on your path or whether you wanted to get into any other subject. But we do have a 1 p.m. hard stop.
Yes, we're going to be looking at a couple more things here, and there's a couple of questions that have come in. But we're trying to do a better job of. We've been famous in the past for running over our 1 hour's session, so we're trying to be better about that here. So in terms of the data that's here, though, one of the things that we wanted to point out is that a lot of this stuff is driven, directly by what is visible in the browser here. One of the things that, and we've done some other sessions on this, but wanted to call out some of the work that we've done with our ERP firewall product, is to go through, and in addition to providing the ability to kind of filter what parts of PeopleSoft would be available to self-service users, without needing to go in and take away their roles or anything like that, but literally just filtering what is accessible, is to also provide better logging and details about the actual data that the users are pulling up. So a lot of the PeopleSoft information is not available to some of these standard tools here. Now, just really quick, in terms of how did we enable that Google Analytics, we've covered in some other webinars different things that you can do. All we did here is after we signed up for the Google Analytics, I've just switched over to Application Designer, and there's just a little bit of JavaScript that's added. And so what we did is just kind of a quick and dirty way to add that in, was we took, in this case, I just used this PT edit script HTML object. And what that does is that actually is one of the People Tools delivered ones. So technically this is a customization here, but one that's fairly straightforward to manage because it's just some extra details at the bottom. And what this does is that because this is added into every page in PeopleSoft, we get this, this will get added automatically for us. So there's some nice details there. Now, if we were to go through and take a look at this, one of the things that we want to get into next is looking at, if you're going through and pushing out these things to different, different browsers, you got people on iPads and things like that, how do you go through and deal with that? So what I'm going to do is pull up another this is a freely available tool here. This is the Selenium web testing tool here. Now, what I've done here, and the reason that we're actually using this, we actually recommend for the purpose of functional testing and validating that PeopleSoft is behaving properly, that people use the use the new testing framework that PeopleSoft has delivered with People Tools 851. One of the things, though, is that that's totally focused on functional behavior. It doesn't look at cross-browser behavior. So there's a freely available tool, Selenium, that has the ability to go through, and actually we can go through, and I'll go ahead and play back this test that we've recorded here really quickly. And these tests can be run across different browsers here. And in fact, there's even some companies that will go through, and you can record a quick test case. In this particular case here, we were just going through and making sure that we could get to the expenses and that everything is working properly for this user. These tests can be run across different, these can be run across different browsers, and that way you can, combine that with your analytics data to go through and, be able to, target the right browsers for what you're doing. And what that does is that kind of takes away the, a lot of the issues where, you have people getting in remotely and things like that. So let's go through. We had a couple of questions come in here. So one of them is related on the Google Analytics in terms of, so if PeopleSoft is being used on the intranet, how can we go through and deal with the Google Analytics? So the nice thing is that as long as your internal network has the ability to reach outside of the network, then the data, we're actually running this site here on a local intranet anyway, so it's not exposed externally. And so that's something that just works out of the box. Another question here for dealing with, does Selenium can be used for the mobile testing? So yeah, so there's some functionality. So for doing cross-browser testing, and that's actually a good segue because we did want to cover some of the issues involved with going through and if you're tailoring PeopleSoft for mobile here. One of the things that's kind of interesting, and we won't spend a lot of time on this. We did our mobile webinar last week that covered a lot of this detail, but wanted to go through, and for people that are looking to either potentially make some changes around self-service for mobile to go in and do that, you can get in and we've actually just posted some stuff out on our blog here. Where we've gone through and created a flash demo of some of that stuff. So for folks that are going through, and part of the reason to look at this is, if you're looking to get some ideas on, what things you can do to modify PeopleSoft, the self-service pages and make them mobile friendly, obviously we would certainly recommend taking a look at our stuff. But even if you're looking at solving that in a different way, you can get some interesting ideas from this for looking at the mobile devices here. Now, the interesting thing from your test cases is that although the UI may be different for these, that because this is all browser-based stuff, you can go through and Selenium will be able to understand a lot of that playback. Let's see. Now let me take a look at what other questions have come in here.
Chris, we do have a couple of questions about security and how do you deal with security with all of that. And I think I actually have a couple of slides that describe that. So why don't I take over at this point and just kind of go through and describe that, if that makes sense.
Perfect.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is, so in terms of security, there's really two aspects that you have to look at with security. The first is the authentication side. And so, again, the real issue with authentication is that you've got people who are not accessing PeopleSoft on a regular basis. And so it becomes a bit of a challenge in terms of looking at how you can deal with all of that in terms of having a common set of password controls, making it so that you don't have to do tons and tons of password resets, all of that sort of thing. Because, from the perspective of how this is generally deployed in self-service, a lot of times you're just sending out an email to a bunch of, to your employees that says, benefits enrollment is open, please click here to actually enroll in your benefits. And so at that point, you'd like the user to be able to click on that link and get in. So, so obviously this is one of the reasons why we spend so much time looking at self-service, is that we have a product that fits very well into that area. So we've dealt with a lot of the things that are out there in terms of making it very manageable and that sort of thing. So we believe that, regardless of whether you're using our single sign-on product, which we have lots of great things we can say about it, we think that looking at single sign-on and authentication is going to be critical to a successful deployment. The next piece is location-based security. So, and it really is two pieces to this. So Chris had gone through and spent a lot of time showing you some of the ability to be able to do logging and to be able to go through and see what people are accessing, what pages, what data they're seeing, all of that sort of thing. And that's definitely a best practice, and we've shown a couple of ways that you can go through and really do that yourself. Obviously, there's some effort that's involved in going through and doing all of that, and so that's again one of the reasons why we have we've been talking to a lot of organizations about self-service, is that location-based security is a pretty critical piece. So if you have organizations who have users, again, enrolling in benefits, entering time, things like that, and you're a worldwide organization, there's all sorts of challenges in terms of where are they accessing from, what parts of PeopleSoft should we provide access to, and then what data are they accessing? So how do we audit what people are doing from a self-service perspective so that you don't have people stealing passwords or spoofing their way in and doing things that they shouldn't be doing? So, so from that perspective, that's something to also consider as well, as the location-based security and being able to do that. And so our product, our ERP firewall product, which we have a demo on our product, and we'd love to talk to you about, really addresses both aspects of that. And so there are other ways that you can do it, but again, we believe that this is a very cost-effective way of taking a look at that.